What are 7 interesting or obscure facts about Doolittle by the Pixies? If you're a longtime fan of the band, there's a good chance you know these already. But if you are new to Pixies or just a casual fan, maybe you'll learn a little something. And by the way, there's a reason I chose the number 7. Stay tuned for that. Hey fellow music nerds, it's Andy with the Fence Post Vinyl channel. If this is the sort of content you dig, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then ring that little bell to get notified of new videos when they go live. Let's start with a little prequel. Released in 1989, Doolittle is often listed among the top and most influential albums of the 1980s. Now certified platinum, the album reached number 8 on the UK albums charts. Speaking to the influence of Doolittle, Rolling Stone quoted the following from none other than Kurt Cobain in 1994. "I was trying to write the ultimate pop song. I was basically trying to rip off the Pixies. I have to admit it. When I heard the Pixies for the first time, I connected with the band so heavily that I should have been in that band, or at least a Pixies cover band." Number 1, the budget. This album, Doolittle, was given a budget of just $40,000, excluding producers' fees. That's equivalent of roughly $100,000 today. At the time, given their label 4AD's prominence, it was a modest budget, but it was still quadruple the size of that given to the previous album by the Pixies, Surfer Rosa. Given that the album has gone platinum with over 1 million sales, that sounds like a pretty decent payoff. Not to mention revenue from touring, merchandise, streaming, royalties, and all the other ways that popular bands can make money these days. Number 2, the original album name. Frontman Black Francis gave the original demo tapes, and thus the forthcoming album, the title of Whore, which he noted was meant more, quote, in a traditional sense of the term, the operatic biblical sense, as in the Great Whore of Babylon. The biblical sense is quite literal, and there are thematic elements and reference to Bible stories throughout Doolittle. I'll get to more of that soon. To those familiar with Black Francis, this should be no surprise. His fascination with biblical themes stems from his parents joining an evangelical church when he was just 12. That church was linked to the Assemblies of God, which, according to Wikipedia, has over 350,000 churches and more than 68.5 million members worldwide. Doolittle is referenced in the Mr. Greaves lyric, quote, "Pray for the man in the middle, one that talks like Doolittle. The monkey with the halo on the cover. It's kind of all coming clear now, right?" I'll talk a little bit more about that one in a moment as well. Number 3, well-known tensions. While 4AD provided the band with 2 options for production, Gil Norton and Ed Stasium, Francis had no preference and Norton was ultimately selected. Norton had previously worked with the Throwing Muses and Echo and the Bunnymen. Though some of Norton's recommendations during the recording process were accepted, like the slowing down of There Goes My Gun, many were not. This contributed to a growing frustration and conflict between Norton and Francis. Here's a quote from Norton on working with Francis on Doolittle, as reported in the online publication independent.co.uk. The thing I learned in that period was that he, being Francis, doesn't like to repeat himself, so you have to try to find ways of exciting him into doing things. There'd have to be a reason to repeat a part. I was frustrating him because a lot of the songs were quite short, 1 minute and 20. Very rarely did they get over 2 minutes. He goes on to say that they were great ideas for songs, but they didn't feel like they'd been fleshed out to me. I was trying to do that, and Charles, get more to that in a second, Charles got a bit frustrated. On day 2, we went around to Tower Records, and he pulled out Buddy Holly's greatest hits and said, "Look, Gil, look at this." And he turned it over. If you look at Buddy Holly's greatest hits, most of the songs, if he gets over 2 minutes with one, it's a bit of an epic. This justification was meant to express why he, being Black Francis, felt the songs should be short. Additionally, Norton also seemed to kind of push the band to create more commercially favorable sound for the day, which Francis balked at. He wanted to be more raw and grunge-like. That throwback to what I said in the prequel with Nirvana. That wasn't the only tension Black Francis had. Things between him and bassist Kim Deal weren't the greatest either. And this built from the visible arguments during recording through their supporting tour. In fact, neither attended their own end of tour party, aptly named the or Fight Tour. Well, they opted for the latter. On stage in Stuttgart, Francis even threw a guitar at Deal. Shortly after the party, the band announced a hiatus. Number 4, the influence of surrealism. Debaser references slicing eyeballs, which is actually a reference to a surrealist artist, Salvador Dali's 1929 film, Un Chien Andalou. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that. The lyrics reference a scene in that film where a woman's eye is cut into with a razor. Here are those lyrics. Got me a movie, I want you to know. Slicing up eyeballs, I want you to know. Girly, so groovy, I want you to know. In fact, a lot of Black Francis's work is influenced by surrealism. This comes from 33 1/3 book on Doolittle. 33 1/3 is a series of books about albums. And he quotes Francis, quote, I got into avant-garde movies and surrealism as an escape from reality. To me, surrealism is totally artificial. I recently read an interview with the director David Lynch, who said that he had ideas and images that he didn't know exactly what they meant. That's how I write. There's an interesting balance of surrealism and destruction throughout the lyrical content of Doolittle. The idea that the ocean is this giant mythological place, octopus gardens and Atlantis and mermaids juxtaposed with it being an environmental wasteland, something that Francis called a big organic toilet. Number 5, biblical references. The artwork was designed by photographer Simon Lirabelstier, again a butcher, I'm sorry, and graphic designer Vaughn Oliver. Simon noted that having the lyrics made a huge difference in his approach to staging and photographing elements for the album. You see contradictions and juxtapositions throughout the work. And you might argue that this stems from 2 songs referencing sex and death in the Old Testament. Gouge Away references Samson and Delilah from the book of Judges, and David and Bathsheba in the song Dead. When the artwork was created, Francis discarded the original title, stating, quote, a monkey with a halo, calling it whore, that would bring all kinds of that wouldn't be true. He felt that people might view him as anti-Catholic or someone who once was, but kind of got a little bit unsavory. Then again, one could argue that much of the lyrical content within the album hints at some unsavory things as well. Death and biblical stories about death and suicide and a whole bunch of other things. To round out this section, I want to touch on one of the top singles of the album, Monkey Gone to Heaven. Biblical stories and thematic elements are referenced here in the numbers 6, which references the devil, and the number 7, which is attributed to God. You get the quite repetitive lyric, if man is 5, then the devil is 6, and if the devil is 6, then God is 7. 5, 6, and 7. There's a story here too. At some point, someone explained to Francis that in the Hebrew Bible, man is often linked to the number 5, the devil to 6, and God to 7. He never followed up to substantiate that claim, and as a matter of fact, neither did I. You'll find these numbers adorned on the cover with the haloed monkey. You'll find the 6 and the 7 on the back of the sleeve and on the A-side label as well. But on those, you don't find 5. It's missing. Until you pick up a copy of the Monkey Gone to Heaven 12-inch maxi single. Again, the 3 can be found here on the cover. And the missing 5s, they are on the labels A and B side. The biblical sense, his fascination with biblical themes stems from his, Number 6. recording in a cupboard. The band was in studio for about 2 weeks, recording roughly one song per day. There's 15 songs on the album. For one of my favorites, the song Hey, they wanted to record it as live as possible. In order to keep Black Francis's vocals from being drowned out by the music, the percussion in particular, he went into a small broom closet to record. Of course, he also had a guitar as well, so to capture that, given how small the broom cupboard was, he had to play it vertically, play it upright with the neck pointing straight up. Number 7, Black Francis at the young age of 14. Black Francis is Pixies frontman's stage name. He was born Charles Thompson IV. Remember how earlier I kind of dropped the name Charles? Well, that's why. At around the young age of 14, he would write a song using a piano that would eventually end right up here on Doolittle. That song is fan favorite, Here Comes Your Man. It went through many iterations. And here's something from band member Joey Santiago. Before, it was more of a country song, and we were kind of hesitant about making it that way. It came out very, very poppy, and we refused to play it. We never played it until the reunion. For a song written by a 14-year-old, or maybe 15 according to some sources, people often mistake it as a simple love song. And according to Black Francis, it's like a dark David Lynch movie. I guess I get a lot of satisfaction when people are pumping their fists in the air and singing like it's some sort of simple love song, which would be fine because there's nothing wrong with simple love songs, but this is not that. Instead, it's a sarcastic commentary on the misery of homelessness and some other things. All right, I gotta drop one more little bonus because I just love this so much. It's about Peter, Paul, and Mary. And why is it a bonus? Because it predates Doolittle by a mile. While Pixies were looking for a bassist, they ran an ad looking for somebody who appreciated the music of Husker Du and Peter, Paul, and Mary, two extremely different artists. Kim Deal was the only one who responded. She got the gig. And a side note, she had never played bass before. And after the hiatus, Deal would focus her attention directly on her band, The Breeders. Ultimately, many consider the greatness of that album due to the fact that she didn't have any songs of her own on Doolittle, something that frustrated her incredibly. She only has a credit on one of the tracks. Can you guess which one it is? I'm not going to tell you. Let me know down in the comments if you do. There they are. 7 fun facts about Doolittle by the Pixies, plus a couple bonuses. Now, I have a number of these on my list to create of other great albums from my collection. So don't forget to subscribe and ring that little notification bell so you'll be notified when new videos go live. And next, check out this video right here where I share some fun, obscure things that I unearthed about White Light, White Heat by the Velvet Underground, and this one right down here where I dig into Space Oddity by David Bowie. I'm Andy, this is the Fence Post Vinyl channel, and I'll see you in the next video.